All right. So a long time ago, it feels like I sent out a survey for asking clubs what they wanted to learn during this training session. And so what you're seeing on the screen is were the most popular requests. And that is how I built this training session based on what clubs want to know. And so a lot of the questions and comments, and this is the third and last group session. We are going to be doing another session, I believe, in January. But from the last two sessions, everyone sort of had similar questions. It was about recruitment, it was about content, and then it was a lot of some best practices and just sort of how to do those things. So that's what we're going to focus on today. And if you have questions outside of what I'm talking about, definitely ask them. I can't see everyone on my screen, so go ahead and just over talk me to get my attention. That will work best today. So we're going to talk about the content, what to post, and we're going to talk about how to post it. And we're focusing mostly on Facebook and Instagram. So I have done, let me give you a little intro about who I am. So my name is Courtney Jarecki. I am coming at you from my office in Milton, Vermont. And I am working with the district for this year to help with content creation for the district's Instagram and Facebook page. I own a social media marketing agency called Yancey Social Media. That's me. So today we're going to be talking about what to post, how to post it, best times to post. That's a very common question from a lot of people. How to work with social media on the phone versus on your desktop or laptop. How to build engagement, which falls in under the recruitment aspect, and what's the algorithm all about? Everyone has questions about that. And then we're going to touch a little bit on stories and reels for Instagram. So what to post on Facebook and Instagram. So someone, I think it was Greg, I think you mentioned about telling the story. So social media is a two-way conversation. That's the social aspect of social media. It is not a business posting something and then never engaging, or it's not a one-sided conversation. You have Rotary, your clubs posting content, and then you have your followers engaging with that content, whether it's through shares or likes or commenting. So when you're thinking about content for your club, you want to tell the story of who your club is. You want to share the culture of your club. And every club is different. Every club is in a different part of the country. You have a different culture that is influenced by your community, by your members. And so you want to produce content that speaks to that. So moving away from pictures of Rotarians holding a large check, you want to show how that check is benefiting the community. Are you building picnic tables at parks? Are you putting together school bags for first graders? So talking and taking pictures of those works is the content, that part of the content that you can create for your club. Show your meetings. You're meeting frequently, and at those meetings are great photo opportunities, and it will help people see who is there and give reason as to why maybe they should check them out. If you're following the district Facebook or Instagram page, you're going to see that we kind of rotate every month through a different theme. October is Unclaimed Rotarians. So it's really an initiative to just get people thinking, get Rotarians thinking about how they can invite and introduce the idea of Rotary into other people's lives. in Vermont and on the East Coast specifically, there's been a large influx of people moving into different states out here. And so those people are new to the area, to the county. And so it's a great community building to just invite someone to a volunteer opportunity or to lunch or to a meeting. So you can, when you're thinking about content for your club, you can look at it in a month-to-month basis. You can look at it as a seasonal thing. We're going to be entering winter. So what does your club do over winter? How does your club celebrate the weather where you are? And really just posting about the things that you know as a Rotarian. And then you can be connecting with local businesses, local groups that you support, the bagel shop down the street from where you meet for lunch, that kind of thing. And engagement. That's kind of a big thing on social media. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but asking questions of your followers will help build that engagement. If you're just starting out on social media for your club, or you haven't really been engaging with your followers, it's going to take time. So we all experience social media as fast, but social media is just like any other marketing, and it takes time to build it. So if you're just putting new breath into your social media, don't expect people to jump on board and start, leaving 15 comments for every post that you make. Give it time. And when I say time, it's 6 months. It could be, 8 months. But if you're consistent and you're putting that content in and you're talking about social media to your community and your club, it's going to start sticking and it will get that ball rolling. So for clubs that do have 2 social media platforms or multiple social media platforms, I always advise that you want to differentiate your content on Facebook and Instagram. You don't want to produce or mirror the same content on both platforms. There's a couple reasons for that. One reason is that your demographic is different on both platforms. Claude, you mentioned that maybe your target audience isn't necessarily on Facebook, that they're younger, and that maybe they're more on Instagram. So choosing what platform you're on and creating content that is specific to the target audience that you're trying to pull in is important. So in general, stereotypically, Facebook does have an older demographic to Instagram. And so think about why you're creating content for social media. Is it to recruit new members to grow your club's presence? Then if we're going to go off one of those pillar objectives of social media, then you're going to think about, well, who is in the community and who do you want to bring into that club? So where are they on those platforms? Some clubs may want to be on LinkedIn because they're recruiting or have a more professional following. And so LinkedIn has that kind of professional, it's a professional platform versus TikTok, which is more of a younger platform. Any questions about what I've said so far regarding content and the different platforms?
I'm glad you differentiated the clientele that are for Facebook and Instagram. I guess we're going to have to start looking at Instagram.
And who is speaking just now?
This is Dave over at North Conway.
Okay, great. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you think about it as a generational, which is often, I manage social media for many different businesses and clients, and I will often break up the client's target audience in generations. So Instagram spans, let's say Gen X and lower, whereas Facebook can be more a little millennial up through boomer. And so if you're really wanting to bring in, middle-aged to younger, then Instagram could be that platform for you. And the other reason why you want to differentiate content on if you're on multiple platforms is because you want people to be following you on both platforms. And if they are,
Right.
and you're posting the same stuff, then there's no reason for them to be following you on both platforms. So you differentiate. So if you're having an event, you can post about that event on both platforms, but change the content a little. Keep it maybe longer copy on Facebook, shorter on Instagram, that kind of thing.
Courtney, this is Amy Patnode in the Matter Valley Club. And I think, hitting also on what you're talking about, I think the other important thing to recognize is the functionality of the platform, right? I mean, to your point, Instagram is very much a graphic, visual, graphically visual type thing, whereas Facebook does allow and is more geared towards text and that kind of content as well, or at least it facilitates it better, right? Because it presents it more readily in front of the user. So I think that's also that piece of, thinking about your Instagram content. To me, when I'm doing Instagram content for even my own personal pages, if it's informational about an event or something, that all of the important key points better be in the graphic, not in whatever commentary I put on my Instagram post. Whereas Facebook, you can put some of that detail text of the comment, and your graphic is secondary almost, and just becomes something that people save to remind themselves. They might save it to their photos or save it somewhere else, or something like that. So I think there's that piece too, to the two platforms. Maybe my other question to you though, so diverging a little bit from the two different platform or multiple platforms, because there's lots of them. Going back to your point about engagement, one of the things that I've often experienced working with groups versus pages, and in this case, we're working in our club, we're working with pages in Facebook, but is also leveraging the members of the club that are on Facebook or Instagram and tagging specific people and like recruiting specific people to be your people that promise to pay attention what's going on your pages and in your posts. Because if they comment on them and or tag other friends of theirs on them or share them on their pages, then we're going to increase awareness across the board. So I think to your point about engagement, that was one of the first things I shared with the club when somebody was talking about the fact they were going to share a post on Facebook. And I was like, hey, can you tag me? And then I'll make sure to do the same thing. And people were like, wait, what do you, not everybody thinks to do that, but it just, I would assume that you'd encourage us to do that. Is that something you've definitely seen to be effective in raising awareness on a news feed?
100%. So okay. When people are engaged, the estimate changes, but I would say that organic posts, those are posts that are not paid for on Facebook, only probably less than 2% of the followers of a page are naturally see these posts in their news feed. That's changing a little bit as Facebook is making some interface changes. But how the algorithm, right? The algorithms are shrouded in mystery, and they change, but how they always work is if people are commenting or tagging their friends or sharing posts, the algorithm sees that as quality content and it will serve that content to more people, the more people that engage with it. So it just feeds, it's a monster that you just keep feeding and feeding and feeding. That's how that works. So yes, everything you said is correct.
If I can piggyback on what Amy was referring to, I know that Facebook has this boost thing where you can pay good money to increase the demographics as to who you reach in the area, a given mileage or away from your zip code. Has that been found to be effective at all?
Yeah, so there's two different sources of paid content on Facebook. There's boosted posts, which is what you just described, and then there's like more targeted ads in Business Manager on Facebook in the back
Right.
end. And so boosting posts this is kind of in my world, this is a split thing where people are like, boosted posts don't work. And then other people think they work great. My personal experience with clients is that boosted posts do definitely serve a purpose and can be very successful. So if you have an event and you want to put $50 or $75 behind a boost to let people know about this event, that usually works really well. If you have a book sale or penny drive coming up, those kinds of things can be really can benefit from a boosted post. My advice when boosting is if you can't spend more than $10, don't do it. And do it with enough time if it is an event. So if your event is Friday, don't start this on Monday, start it the week before. Because that happens all the time. And then what will often happen is the end date will be wrong, the ad's still running, and the event is over. So just make sure you're thinking about it ahead of time. And so boosted posts are like backup dancers to a concert. You need them. They're great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Who sees the boosted posts? Do they have to be followers?
They could be. So when you put money behind a post to boost it, you can choose who the audience is. So it can be by location, like zip code or town within 10-mile radius of that point. It could be your followers on your page and people similar to them. Or you can kind of create your own targeted audience based on affiliations or interests or things like that.
But it can serve as a way to introduce yourself to people that don't know you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I would not ever recommend running putting a paid ad or a boosted post to try to get people to follow your page. That usually doesn't work out very well in the long run. It ends up kind of being a waste of money because you don't want people just clicking a follow button. You want them engaging and being a part of your online community. So usually if you have an event or you have a specific thing that's happening, that's a good place to start.
Courtney, we go back and forth about this in my club all the time, and we usually throw somewhere between $100 to $200 to every fundraising event that we have. And there's always this debate of like, where are people coming from, and trying to decide, like, are they looking at our banner ads in the News and Citizen? Are they looking at targeted ads? Are they looking at posters that we've put around town, sandwich boards that we've put up, so on and so forth? And it's so hard to measure. Do you have any advice about how you might do that?
Yeah, it is super hard to measure. I mean, I get clients on my own and they don't even know how they found me. And like, it's so hard for people to, even if you directly ask, hey, how did you hear about us? They usually don't quite remember, or we'll just say like, oh, I don't know. Someone told me about it. When you are running paid ads or boosted posts, Facebook will give you data on the back end of that ad as to how many people engaged with that ad or clicked on that ad. Facebook that's some information, not really though. Facebook has something that's called a pixel, where it's basically just some really simple HTML code that you can, if you're connecting to a website that you have back-end control over, you could put this code in there, and then that tracks how many people clicked on an ad and went to a landing page. That's another way of tracking some, but there's metrics for everything in social media, but really knowing like what's working or what's not, the best way to do that is by having a separate landing page on a website, and you can look at the Google Analytics and you can look at the pixel or any kind of tracking code and know if you're getting a good return on investment that way.
Well, that's really interesting.
Yeah. So, you know, those pixels sometimes, I mean, they're pretty simple to work with, but sometimes they stop working, and then, you know, it just takes time and management. And Facebook, you know, Facebook is glitchy. Like it is a pain to work in a lot of times. And so it's complicated on the back end as you start building in ads and things like that. So it's definitely not easy.
Does that work the same sort of way as like when I, browse the web looking for something to purchase, and all of a sudden I'm getting all these ads on Facebook for it? Is that the
Well,
same?
that's the secret conspiracy of who's listening to your data,
Right.
your phone conversation. Well, iPhone, iOS this year, I think it was last year, you know, stopped the tracking of cookies. The default, we now have more privacy if you're on an Apple product, but there is so much tracking, and I mean, we don't even know. You know, you can be. It's based on location. It's based on who you are with in a room and what they've been, their search history. So yeah, I mean, we could all have a conversation about pillows, and then tomorrow we'll all have ads about pillows.
It seems like sometimes I walk through the door and the phone rings. It's like somebody knows that I just got home.
Yeah, those people who are making those ads.
Anyways,
All right. So once you are thinking about that content and you're doing it, the good thing is you don't have to do it live. You know, you can really set aside time once a week, every other week, to create posts for your club and schedule them. So I'm going to show you. Let me see. Oh, there we are. Does everyone see my Facebook page here?
Mhm.
The districts page? Okay, great. So from here, Facebook pages are changing right now. So some of your club's pages, maybe they haven't changed. They look as they have, but soon they're going to be changing into what's called a new page experience. And so one day it's just going to happen, and things are going to look a little different on your end and how you manage that club. So right now, I think this is the classic view. Some of my client pages are classic and some are new. So I get
Courtney,
a little confused.
so in there from a browser, correct? You're not in an app. You're from a browser right now, right?
I am, yeah.
That also,
So,
okay. UI is
yep.
different. Okay.
Yep. It looks different. Things look different for different people, you know, based on permissions, based on browser, based on platform. You know, I work in social media all day, and I do everything I can to not work on my phone as much as possible. I try to do everything on desktop because it allows me to see, you know, settings, menu options here more clearer. But there are some platforms, including Instagram, where you have to work on mobile more because you'll have the full suite of tools there. When your club page does switch to the new page experience, one thing that you'll notice is it will be easy for you to toggle between your personal Facebook profile and your club's business page now. So that's a good thing. It'll just be a little awkward until you get the hang of that. The back end of Facebook, of Meta, has a lot of different tools, and one of them is a scheduling tool. So you can go back here if you just went to this URL, business.facebook.com. Any business page that you are an admin of, you can navigate to, and you can see multiple pages that you might manage, and you can choose the one that you want to manage. I'm on slow internet right now, so my screen is probably going to be lagged behind. But this is where you can create both Facebook and Instagram posts and schedule them out so that you can have that content planned out. As a media manager, I schedule all of my clients' content out a month in advance. I'm able to easily maneuver it and change it as things come up in the world, in the community, in the business. But I have that content there so that I can then, the content's done and I can focus on engaging and building that audience. There's lots of different tools you can use. Most of them could be free if you're only managing one page, or some can cost a lot more money. Or you can use this tool from Meta, and you can just click create post and choose what platform. Yeah, we're not going to see anything with this internet. Choose if you're doing Facebook or Instagram, upload your photos, videos, and you can schedule a time out to do that. On most pages now, you can see the best times to post. So that was a big question for a lot of people was, when do I post? When am I supposed to do that? So if you were to Google that question, you're going to get articles that might actually have literal time frames and days of the week for when to post. But it's a very personal, or it's a very business specific answer. So you want to post content when your followers are most active on that platform, because if they're active on it and your post comes up, then they're likely to engage and like and share and comment on it. People are people, and so this changes all of the time, especially now as we're getting into the holiday season. People are spending more time on social media because they're shopping. And then often, you know, from January on, that fluctuates and changes, and then summer comes. So the information of when to post is always different. But for most businesses now, Facebook does say offer a suggested time to post. So if you have that feature for your page, then go ahead and use that to post during that time frame. But if you don't have that feature on your content management system or through the Meta scheduler, then just ignore that and just post whenever you want to. It's not, people tend to think that it's this vital thing to know, but it's really not for most businesses. So for people who are publishing stuff on Facebook or Instagram, are you using Meta's Creator Studio here to do that, or how are you doing it live? How are you doing it?
Yeah, I post in advance.
Through
Sometimes.
this platform?
Yeah, through Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
The business.
Susan Sweet.
A lot of times when we have an event coming up, we'll do posts, 2 weeks out, and we'll schedule them, at intervals so that we're spreading it out and not overwhelming people. And then when we're not doing fundraisers, it's kind of like, we do stuff after the meetings or after we've done a service project, but we're not scheduling those pieces.
Okay. Yeah, scheduling them can save a lot of time. But if it's working for you to do it, those other pieces just after the meetings or whatever, then stick with what is working. All right. And I think we covered all of this. That's my favorite thing to tell people. I mentioned it at the beginning of this talk, and this is really, engagement. So this is the district's Instagram page. So on Instagram, when I talk about engagement, what I do for my clients is I spend a couple minutes every day going through their news feed and authentically, as that client, as that business, as that brand, engage with the businesses in their news feed or with hashtags that I'm following. So I might comment or like, I might make a comment, and the algorithms see me doing that as, oh, okay, you're engaged. There's, points for you, and it just helps build your kind of algorithm reputation by doing that. So, oh, look, there
Is
you go.
that on both Instagram and Facebook? I don't know if you can.
Facebook's a little different, and one of the changes with the new page experience on Facebook is it makes engagement as your club, as your business, a little easier. So here you have news feed. Every page, no matter what they're old or new, has a news feed. And this news feed allows you to follow businesses, community organizations as your club. And then it aggregates all of your followers and puts them in a separate news feed that you can then like, comment, and share as the club. So this is the district's news feed, and these are the most recent posts from the district. So you can like or share that way. And this is easier to do with the new page experience if you have it. So traditionally, engagement and building that community on Facebook is a little more difficult than it is on Instagram, because on Instagram, it's just right there and it makes it easier. This is a great example of tagging another business in an Instagram post. So there's a couple tags here, and there's hashtags. Hashtags are content aggregators, and it's the number symbol, the hash symbol, no space, and then words. So hashtags are used on certain platforms. A lot of people do use them on Facebook, mostly because they just copy their content from Instagram to Facebook. My recommendation always is, unless you're being funny or ironic, Facebook is not a place for hashtags. And the reason for that is that it just does not have the search capacity that other social media platforms do to aggregate that content. So on Instagram, you can use up to 30 hashtags per post. The current recommendation is, probably 1 to 5 hashtags per post. It's really what works for you. I still have clients where we use more than 10 hashtags, and that has consistently been the best way to do it for engagement. And then I have some clients in different industries where it's 1 to 2. So if it's working for you, if you feel like your posts are getting out there and getting a good reach, keep doing what you're doing with your hashtags. Definitely, where is that?
Courtney,
Yeah.
do you need to have your own Instagram personal account in order to post to it from Meta?
Okay, so I'm going to just kind of start at the top. So to have a business page on Facebook, you need a personal account.
Right.
To have an Instagram page, it's not connected to another account like in the way that Facebook is. So you can go in and create a brand new Instagram page with your first name at gmail.com account. To connect the Instagram and the Facebook page together in the Meta Business Suite, you need admin access to both Facebook and Instagram. And that, at gmail.com personal Instagram account can be pulled into the Meta Business Suite manager. And my suggestion is to definitely do that, because with Instagram, you know, like the DGs change every year. People come in and people come out, and these Instagram passwords and logins can get lost. And so when it's in the Meta umbrella of the business suite, then you will always have some level of access to it. When it's just on its own, free floating, you could get locked out of these accounts, you cannot regain access, and then you have this kind of bunk account floating around that no one has access to. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, sort of.
Gregory, what?
Instagram right now, so we're looking into doing that, but I don't have a personal account, only because I just don't want to manage another time-consuming thing for me personally. So I just was trying to figure out if there's a way around it or not.
Well, Gregory, what we did in the Charlotte Shelburne Heinz, we created an Instagram account that was just for the club. And so it has a club address that goes to, it uses one of our club addresses. So that way it goes to a couple of people, et cetera. And then, you know, now we've connected into the Meta Suite, so we can use that. And then I think one or a couple of us have that on our phones as well as the Instagram account that's there. So we could post from our devices if we wanted to. But we did it that way, so then we don't have to necessarily have people, you know, going and creating, and we used a club account, a club email, so that way it would not deal with people moving out of things or stuff on this line.
Okay.
Yeah, like this Rotary, this district profile, you know, I came in when Caroline came in and it was created with, I don't even think it was the previous DG's email. It was some other person. And so while this is still connected to a personal Gmail account, there is no notion of that person's identity anywhere public. So you can, that does exist. So you don't, it's not like Caroline had to have a personal email or a personal Instagram before she could take this over or have access to this type of thing.
One question for you, Courtney, too, is just curiosity, again, thinking about engagement. Of course, here in Vermont, we have Front Porch Forum and other community bulletins and things like that. Something that I've seen to be relatively effective is to provide linkage to Instagram or Facebook from those locations, right? So you still always want to provide good content in those posts, but also then linking back out to the other entities. Is that something you would recommend doing, or, you know, are there kind of best practices related to doing something like that?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend it. There are plenty of clubs, especially out here in Vermont, that really thrive with Front Porch Forum. And so there is nothing that should stop you from using those other platforms to help get the word out. When you're linking, you know, to Facebook or Instagram from another platform, you just want to copy this URL going to your profile, copying that, not copying Instagram.com, but going to the profile and doing that.
Can I just add that by far our most effective way of recruiting new people has been from Front Porch Forum. I mean, we'll do a post to Front Porch Forum advertising when we have a particularly interesting speaker, and invite people to come, and people that nobody's ever seen or ever talked to read it. And if it strikes their interest or they're trying to engage locally, that we've had them show up.
That's great. Keep doing that 100%.
I would agree. I think some of that is also driven, you know, this goes to timeliness and like, to your point about when you post on the other social media forums. The difference with Front Porch Forum is what I find is most people that I talk to have subscribed to the email notifications, right? So they aren't remembering to go to FPF and check posts or and they might ultimately go there by linking to it from the email, but 9 times out of 10, they're getting a push notification via the email that's in their inbox every day, that, you know, or whatever they scheduled it to be. And so they see it. And so I feel like I see similar things in our area when organizations in general post about events or activities or things like that happening. Inevitably, when you go to those activities, more people talk about, oh, I saw it on Front Porch Forum, you know, la da da, you know. So I could see, I think that's a great idea that you do that with your club meeting speakers. I think that's a fantastic idea. I love that.
Yeah, does anyone else do that and have seen super positive outcomes?
Well, that's actually how I joined Rotary in 2019, was because I was seeing the announcements in Front Porch Forum and saw the meeting things, and I started to come for that. My only caution, though, would be to say that that hits a certain demographic, but I would say that certainly as you look at younger generations and younger folks in general, there's an increasingly less reliance on email. So yes, it's a great, FPF's a great tool to use, but I think you know, you also need to augment it with things like this, et cetera.
Not to
Right,
mention,
there-
the Front Porch Forum limits the amount of times you can post.
Yes.
I was just gonna say that. I would be
We've run into
selective.
that issue ourselves a number of times.
Yeah.
We share that responsibility amongst many members.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
we do, it's the same sort of thing. Like there's like 3 different community forums that are impacted by our group. And so it's easier to, like you said, share that. But I also think you're right that demographic wise, but also picking and choosing those meetings that you want to share about, like what are some where you think the speaker is going to really have a broad reach to a particular demographic. And it also starts to get me thinking a little bit about student engagement and things like that, and forums, community forums that students use to keep track of things too, beyond social media. When it comes to meetings and special events and speakers. You guys have me thinking about some of that as well.
Yeah, I mean, diversification is key. You know, there isn't one platform, one way of speaking to people because everyone hears things differently. And you need to find these people. Where are they? And they're all over the place. This is just 2 places where they are. Real quick, at the end here, a lot of people in the survey talked about Instagram stories and reels. So I'm going to just touch on that really briefly. So stories on desktop, they're here, and on your phone, they're also up top. Stories are short bits of video or photo that disappear after 24 hours. It's kind of like TV on Instagram. You just sort of flip through it or watch it. These can be the content for this kind of I'm missing the word. The content for stories would be really uncurated, behind the scenes, not, you know, fun. You can add filters and stickers and emojis and music. So it's just something that could be really helpful to build. It's a great way to build audiences. If you wanted to keep it so that it doesn't disappear in after 24 hours, is you can save them here. We don't have any in the district at this point, but you can save them as a highlight, and then they're archived in buckets. So if you wanted to have a highlighted bucket of events and a highlighted bucket for fundraisers and meetings, you can kind of organize that story content into these buckets, and they're on your profile until you wanted to delete them. Reels are currently a great way to build engagement and hit a wider audience. Essentially, any video now on Instagram is turned into a reel post. All that means is the algorithm is kind of favoring these types of videos. So Reels can be anything. It can be, 45 seconds of, putting together, setting up a meeting or doing some sort of activity. You add music to it and you can add some hashtags, and it's just a way to amplify your club's message. And then for stories, that is content that can easily be mirrored on Facebook, and that's totally okay in my book to do that. So that is all that I had planned for today. We have like 10 more minutes. Are there any questions, anything you want me to go over, anything specific to your club I can answer?
Yeah, I
Yes.
a question. One of the things Carolyn mentioned that you were working on some kind of across district social media campaigns or campaign material or something. Was that something you're doing to help with coordinated messaging, or is it more this training kind of thing?
So I'm not sure. So what I heard was I'm not doing any kind of content that would be individual for clubs on a district level, but there's a couple things that are happening. So Caroline is working on club grants where you can apply and use money to hire either myself or someone else to help you with social media, your club's social media, and in that could be strategy and content development. Something that when I'm creating posts for the district is I'm thinking about how shareable is this for all of the clubs in the district? Like, is it easy for any club to just take that content on Facebook and share it on their page? So there's always a handful of those kinds of posts that of course anyone can share that, but I kind of have those clubs, the individual clubs in mind when creating that content. I'm pretty sure Caroline was probably talking about the grants when she was talking about that, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, she just said when she was talking about it, it sounded to me like she was thinking that we'd be having some kind of coordinated or campaign across the different clubs or something like that. So it's okay.
I know that often, like, I'll put the content together before she puts the monthly newsletter together. And I will always recommend a piece of initiative or content for the newsletter that goes district wide. So this month was the invite, the unclaimed Rotarians. And next month, I believe I'm focusing on DEI.
Okay. I think that was what she was thinking of then.
Okay.
Was the themes like that. Okay.
Got it. Helpful. Yes, that's happening.
Okay.
All right. What other questions?
I just dropped a URL in the chat that I found earlier in the year. So I have some other business things that I use social media to promote, and like Reels are one of the things that the audience that I'm trying to engage with really, they just engage with Reels really well. And so I found that particular kind of guide to how to put together a reel like helpful for. It's a little elaborate, right? It's one where you actually put a fair amount of effort. It's not a like take a video, set it to some music and walk away type of thing. It's like you're really putting some effort into creating some staged engagement and content to the reel. But I found it kind of fun, and it's not something I want to spend a ton of time doing on a regular basis because it does take time. But I think if we had particular events that we really wanted to raise awareness of, or even just doing some things. I liked your idea, Courtney, of even like doing something around meeting setup or things like that, just sort of the day-to-day stuff. I think you could make some amusing and reels from sort of content. I think that's a great idea.
Totally. Just start like thinking, like, content's everywhere. You just have to put your camera out there and create that content. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, it's never going to be perfect. And also sometimes it can take time. Like it is not unusual for me to have a couple posts a month where I'm spending 45 minutes creating an educational in-depth post. And then some posts take me 20 seconds to write, but reels are time consuming and there's a learning curve for them. But once you get in the habit, they kind of become fun. I also just sent my email in the chat for people. If anyone has any questions, feel free to copy that and email me and ask me anything that you have about your club.
I do have one question. So giveaways, like some sort of like promotion, like for example, we have signs up, we're promoting a Halloween parade, and I was thinking of doing like, if you see a sign, share it on your story and you could be entered to win like XYZ. Like, I know there are some like rules around I don't know, like, do you know what the rules are around giveaways? Like if you have to put disclaimers or text or something? Yeah,
I don't remember. I haven't done a giveaway for Facebook in a while. They have more strict rules around that. Instagram, you have to have some sort of content that says Instagram is not really associated with this giveaway, that kind of thing. Any kind of contest or giveaway that is asking for Facebook tends to not like. But giveaways can be a totally legitimate thing to do on social media. Just Google Facebook rules giveaway or terms of service or something like that, and
Okay.
you'll see the content. It may be ambiguous. That's their rules tend to be ambiguous so that they can decide what they actually are in the moment.
Okay.
You'll have some sort of reference there.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I have one thing. I mean, I'm just curious if people share this issue, or I guess it's a problem. Don't like to talk about problems, like issues are more solvable. But the issue is that the members don't seem to, a lot of our members don't connect to the Facebook page even. And one reason they haven't connected to it is because there's not any information there that's particularly useful if you don't update it. So what I started to do, and also if you ask people what we do, this is Essex, they don't really know. And in fact, I don't believe the club knows what it does. We just do things and it's good stuff, but you don't know exactly what it is. So I started to try to populate the Facebook page, the web page with the event, using the events and putting events up and making them reoccurring, because we do these every year. So once you put them there, it becomes sort of a reoccurring thing. And then you put the speakers up, and then maybe there's a reason to drive people to the website. But I keep hearing from people, well, I'm too busy and all that. And I'm like, well, why am I doing this? Why am I populating this Facebook page or web page if you're not looking at it? And so is that a problem? Do you run into that? Or do you have members that are, and some do, but not a lot?
Yeah, that's a totally common thing. And a lot of it is just reminders and education. So I am in a business networking group, and I took over the social media management of the group. And so once a month, once a month, I will go and I will remind everyone to engage and do these things. And what I discovered was that people a lot of times weren't doing it because they didn't know how. And so my reminders became hands-on education. So I would spend 4 minutes once a month talking about, here, let's go and take a selfie and check in and look at this, what's been posted and comments, and now this side of the room share something, and just doing that. And over the course of some time, people started making it a habit. And when I stopped talking about it, the engagement went down. And so it's just reminding people and teaching people. because a lot of folks just don't know how to do that because that's not how they use that platform. And so just be consistent with talking about why they should do it and how they should do it. And I think you'll probably see a change in that, but that's super common.
But Greg, were you talking about your website or were you talking about your social media? Because I think I heard you talk about the website. Oh, you're muted. Greg, you're muted.
Yeah, it was the website. That's the main thing that I'm talking about.
Oh,
And having that core information, because if
got
you
it.
start adding members and you have some members that aren't coming every week, then, you know, you find out people, they lose track of what's going on. And if you don't put it on some place, the club doesn't have an institutional memory is sort of what I see. And a few
I think
people
one of the things I was going to say, one of the things our club does that I think is helpful is our sign up sheets and our activity sheets and things like that are sourced on the website. And then we use email to send those out to members that then direct them to the website. So I
Yeah.
think I'm not saying we get a ton of engagement on the website because I personally don't know for sure that we do or don't, but I would think that one way to do that is to potentially use kind of what you're getting at, Courtney, use reminders, whether those are email reminders or at meeting reminders or whatever, to then send people to the website to do an action, like sign up for something like the greeter duty at every meeting, or even signing up for volunteerism in a local community, a reoccurring event or whatever. I do know that our members at least engage with our website for those purposes. I can't say that they engage with it for anything greater than that at this point in time, but that is one way that we get some engagement with our website. I can say that much for whatever that's worth.
It's helpful.
All right. Well, it's 8 p.m., a little past my bedtime. So I am going to sign off. Thank you all for joining me this evening. Definitely take my email that's in the chat.
Thank you,
And
Courtney.
feel free to ask any questions later on.
Thank you very
Greatly
much.
appreciated the
Yeah,
info.
nice.
All right. Thank you.
Take care, guys. Have a good
Thanks.
night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.